Well, hello, hello, hello. I like to say hello more than one time. Let me just adjust my microphone here. Hey, we'll start in about 35 seconds. This is an English lesson about science fiction. You might have guessed this was going to happen because a couple weeks ago we did one on fantasy. So let me just check all my settings. Yes, we'll get started in about 15 seconds. Everything looks like it's working properly. I'm excited for this lesson. It's one of my favorite topics, so I hope you are excited too. And I hope you're ready to learn a bit of English. We'll get started in 1 second. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about science fiction. You may have expected this lesson because a couple weeks ago we did one on medieval times and fantasy. So this is the natural follow-up. Science fiction is also fiction, stories that aren't true, but they take place in the future. I am a big science fiction fan. I love reading science fiction and I like watching science fiction movies. So in this English lesson, I'll help you learn some words and phrases that hopefully help you understand a science fiction book if you read it, or when you watch a science fiction movie. And there are a lot of them. There are a lot of science fiction movies in the world. So once again, welcome to this English lesson about science fiction. Before we get started, I do want to say hi to a lot of people. I'm a little late today. I woke up and I had to respond to a lot of work messages and work emails. So anyways, let me say hi to Eugene, Noriko, Renata, Ruslan, Fritz, Audie, Key Park, Lolly, Freddie. I'm scrolling. Eugene from Etobicoke, Vitor, Tony, Miss Muna is here as well. Min, I think I'm saying things nice already. Hi to Dave, the Canadian. Thanks for being here, Dave, and moderating the chat. And just hi to everybody who's here. Once again, a lesson about science fiction. I'll try to keep each of my definitions and descriptions short, but I really like science fiction, so I might go on and on. I'll try not to. But once again, welcome to this English lesson about science fiction. If you've watched anything like the Star Wars movies or Star Trek movies or any of those shows that take place in space, this lesson will help you understand some of that vocabulary. So once again, welcome. Remember, if you have the desire to ask a question, please use the form in the chat, wherever that is on your screen. And don't ask the question directly in the chat because I don't read the chat. It goes too fast for me. But definitely, if you have a question, there is a link in the description below that you can use, and there is one in the chat. Please keep the questions on topic. Please have good English conversations in the chat with each other, and please enjoy the lesson. Should we get started? I think we should. So science fiction relates to stories about the future. Someone has imagined the future and they've written a story about it, or they've created a movie about it. So we have a short form though for science fiction, and it's the word sci-fi. So if you are a fan of sci-fi, it means you really like science fiction. I'm not sure why we do this in English so often. Science fiction isn't that hard to say, but for some reason we shorten it and we sometimes say sci-fi. We even have a channel here called the Sci-Fi channel, although they spell it a little differently. This is the most correct spelling. But sci-fi, once again, stories about the future, stories about robots and spaceships and people traveling from planet to planet, people living in futuristic cities. That is what science fiction is all about. Stories about the future. And sci-fi is the short version of it. Mostly these stories take place in outer space. Most people who imagine the future imagine us traveling from our planet to other planets. Sometimes outer space involves our solar system, and maybe we live on Mars as well as the planet Earth. But sometimes outer space involves traveling far beyond our solar system to other parts. But the vast majority of stories that people write that would be called science fiction take place in outer space, or at the very least on a very futuristic Earth, planet Earth. And of course, planets and stars make up the majority of the places where people go. They might be traveling to a distant planet. They might be traveling to a distant star. They might be traveling to visit people who live on a different planet. Planets would be things like Earth, and stars would be things like our very own sun. The sun is actually a star. A galaxy, though, is a whole bunch of planets and stars and other space things together and spinning. We actually are in the Milky Way galaxy. The planet Earth is in the Milky Way. But a galaxy is a collection of planets and stars and other things kind of spinning and connected to each other through probably their own gravity. I'm not sure, I'm not an expert, but definitely a galaxy is a large collection of planets and stars. And the one we live in is called the Milky Way. So if you look up in the sky, sometimes on a perfect night, you can see it looks a little bit milky. It looks a little bit white because of all the stars that are in our galaxy. And if you refer to everything, that includes every single galaxy, every single planet, every single star, everything that exists, we call it the universe. And we do put the word "the" in front. So our galaxy is in the universe. We all live in the universe. The universe is huge. The universe is possibly endless. I don't know a lot about the universe, but it's definitely really, really big. And everything that exists is in the universe. Hey, the people that go into space or outer space are called astronauts. There are astronauts from many countries on Earth, and we tend to work quite well together. It's one of the things where a lot of different countries work well together in terms of having a space station, traveling to space. Things are a little rough around the edges right now in terms of countries relating well to each other in terms of going to space. But if you were to talk about someone who goes to space, we would call them an astronaut. So a lot of astronauts will go to space. They'll do some experiments on the space station and then they'll come back. In the far future, people who travel aren't always called astronauts. I think when space flight becomes common, people are just passengers. You're no longer an astronaut. And we also have theories that there might be extraterrestrials or aliens that live somewhere else in our galaxy or in the universe. People are going to ask this question. I know they're going to say, Bob, do you think aliens exist? And all I'll say is, I don't think so. I think they would have visited by now. But extraterrestrials would be creatures, or I can't say people. They would be beings from another planet. They would be people who are not human, who evolved or developed outside of our planet and solar system. So it's hard to describe what an extraterrestrial is. Not a human, not from Earth. There, that's my best explanation. And we also sometimes talk about it in a broader term. We'll just say intelligent life. There's the search for intelligent life. They're looking for intelligent creatures from other parts of our galaxy. And once again, do I think intelligent life exists outside of the planet Earth? I don't know. I don't think so. But I could be proven wrong at some point in the future. But currently, I think that it's just us. That's my feeling. So when you travel in space, you will use a spaceship. So a spaceship is a vehicle that has been designed to go in space. Space has a near vacuum or vacuum. There's nothing in space. There's no air around you. So you need a special ship that can go in a vacuum. You need a ship that can travel safely through space, and we would call that a spaceship. We might also call it a starship. If you have watched Star Trek at all, they have starships like the Starship Enterprise. So a starship is simply a spaceship that is able to travel between stars. Okay, so a general term would be spaceship. A specific term for a spaceship that can go really far, really fast and travel between stars would be a starship. Very cool. If you've ever watched Star Trek, you will enjoy many episodes of people traveling from stars to star. And I do want to mention, I'm not a Star Wars fan or a Star Trek fan primarily. I am a fan of both. Some Star Wars fans don't like Star Trek, and some Star Trek fans don't like Star Wars. I like both, and I really do enjoy both of them. And of course, we on Earth here are still sending up rockets. A rocket is a vehicle designed to travel from the Earth into space. Well, some are designed to travel from Earth into space, but a rocket is usually just a long, tall vehicle with a big rocket engine at the bottom. And we count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, blast off. When we were kids, we would often do that. Like we would count backwards, and when we got to 0, we would say blast off, because the rocket, when the countdown hits 0, the engines ignite, the rocket engines ignite, and it will take off. So rockets are one of the ways that we travel from Earth to space, or just to send up a satellite. We have another kind of vehicle called a UFO. This is an unidentified flying object. I didn't put the full term on the screen, but a UFO would be anything flying that we can't identify. Usually it ends up being a satellite or a weather balloon or something else. Some people believe that aliens come in UFOs to the Earth and visit secretly at night. I'm not so sure about that. And then we have what's called a shuttle. There's a couple different kinds of shuttles. This is a space shuttle. As soon as you use the word shuttle, it means it can travel back and forth. So a shuttle is something that can take you from one place to another. At the airport, you can take a shuttle from the parking lot to the airport, and then from the airport to the parking lot. You can take the space shuttle to the space station, and then you can fly back down and then take it again. In science fiction, sometimes a starship or spaceship will send a shuttle from their ship to another ship. And it's just, a shuttle is just a smaller spaceship that you can fly back and forth between one ship to another. Hey, let's do some questions though. Let me just do a double check on the audio. And let me say hi to the 329 people watching. I'm always shocked when I see how many people are watching. Welcome. And I hope you're enjoying this lesson. There's a lot of questions. I hope that I can answer them all. Ruslan, hello, dear teacher Bob. It's nice to see you, sir. What is your favorite Marvel character? Well, I do really like Iron Man. He has always been one of my favorite characters. He builds this amazing suit and he flies around. So I would say one of my favorites is Iron Man. That's how I would describe it. I don't know if he's my favorite anymore, but one of my favorites is Iron Man. Next question from Yaroslav. Morning, the wisest teacher Bob. Hope you're fine. I know you like sci-fi. What is your favorite book and movie right now? Have a splendid weekend. So my favorite TV show. I don't have a favorite movie, but my favorite TV show right now. Let me think about that for a sec. So yeah, I can't think of the name right now. My favorite book is The Martian by Andy Weir. I really, really, really like The Martian by Andy Weir. And the TV show that I have been watching, it hasn't been on for a while. Can't believe I can't remember the name, but even sometimes I forget the names of things. Let me see here. The Expanse, that's right. So there's a show called The Expanse. I've watched every season of it. It's my favorite TV show. Favorite movie? I still like the original Star Wars. That is one of my favorite science fiction movies. From Renata. Hi, Bob. I hope you're great today. Thanks. Science fiction isn't my cup of tea. It doesn't spark my interest at all, but hopefully I can learn a bit about it from you. Thank you. That's a good idea. It's always good to learn words and phrases for things you like, but also for things that you don't enjoy. It just broadens your total knowledge of the English language. Curtis says, hi, Uncle Bob. What's Area 51 in the USA? They are saying that aliens living there. What is the meaning of extraterrestrial? So Area 51 is a place in the southwest of the United States where they think that perhaps they've met with aliens. I don't know, but it's it's used a lot in movies and TV as a set or location when they're making a movie about sci-fi. And extraterrestrial is anything that's not from Earth. We usually use it to talk about beings or creatures that are not from Earth. This is from Extraterrestrial Mode. Hi, sorry for putting you on the spot, but Bob the Canadian is almost too good to be true. Prove that you're not an android developed by Dave. Shout out to Dave, by the way. Well, I don't glitch out. I don't glitch out. I don't glitch out very often, but Dave has developed very good software, I think, if that's what you're thinking has happened. Cutting edge software. From Romanov, which sci-fi books do you like and why? So I often say The Martian by Andy Weir, and there's another book, Artemis by Andy Weir. I like both of them. But I will read almost any science fiction novel. Probably one of my most favorite is when I was 8 years old. I wasn't allowed, was I 8 or 9? I wasn't allowed to go see Star Wars the movie, but my brother gave me the book and I read the book. So that my first experience with Star Wars was I read the book. Still one of my favorite memories in life. Let's see here. I'm going to skip questions. This is from Romanov. Wait, didn't we just do one? Anyways, hi from UZ. Which sci-fi movies do you like and why? I think I've answered. I've watched all the Star Trek movies, all the Star Wars movies. And not only do I like the book, The Martian, I like the movie as well with Matt Damon. I mentioned that too much, but it is still one of my favorite movies. Next question is from Itsuki. Hi, great teacher Bob. If you had a chance to go to one planet in the solar system, which one would you choose? I would go to Mars. I think that would be fun. I don't think that'll happen in my lifetime. I think that perhaps that might happen when my kids are older, but maybe more likely my grandkids. But yeah, I would definitely go to Mars. Let's see here. From Stas, hey Bob, I hope you are doing good. Have you watched the movie Back to the Future? It's interesting how people thought about our future a long time ago, isn't it? Yes, I've watched all of the Back to the Future movies. They're quite entertaining. I have not watched them for many, many years, though. I should watch them again sometime. Let's see here. This is from Natalia. Please don't delete me. Hi, Teacher Bob. This is not a related question, but please, in the next live lesson, prepare the subject of zodiac signs. I know it will be a success. Think about. I will think about it, but I'm not sure. No promises. We'll see. From Voladislav. Hello, the best teacher Bob. Do you like stargazing? May the force be with you. So yes, I live in an area where it's quite dark at night. I do enjoy just going outside and looking at the stars, finding the Big Dipper. If you live in the northern hemisphere, the Big Dipper is cool to find. The Little Dipper is harder to find. I like finding the North Star. That's cool as well. And may the force be with you as well. That is a saying from Star Wars. May the force be with you. Let's see here. This is from I'm Stressed. The future. Do you think humans will live on Earth forever or move to a different planet? I hope you're doing well, Bob, by a uni student who wants to drop out. Well, first of all, I can't tell you don't drop out, but what I can tell you is try to find a way through it without dropping out, if you can. Okay? I think staying in school is always a good idea. Do you think humans will live on Earth forever? Or I think we'll move to other planets. I think that's going to happen probably in the next 100 or 200 years. We will at least have small bases or colonies on other planets. A future human Bob, help. Do you know what kind of material they use to build starships? I really have no idea. What do you think? Well, usually in science fiction books, they build them out of carbon fiber or some kind of advanced aluminum, a really light and strong metal. So I don't know what they do today, whether it's fiberglass or carbon fiber or aluminum or metal like steel. Never Giver says, what's the most iconic sci-fi in Canada? Well, we are very proud that William Shatner is originally from Canada. So he was, William Shatner was Captain Kirk on Star Trek, the original Star Trek. So that's something we're pretty proud about in terms of Canadian sci-fi. Freddy Le Français, hey Bob, merci beaucoup pour cet sujet. Je l'aime beaucoup. Thanks so much for this topic. I really like it. No questions so far. I just want to wish you all the best. Hey, friendly aliens, our Bob is making a lesson about you. Yes, hopefully they don't land during the lesson and shut down the live stream. Let's see here. This is from Matus. Hi, Bob. Thanks for a perfect lesson. Do you believe in other civilizations? You know, I believe in facts. And I think the fact is we haven't seen aliens or extraterrestrials yet. So that makes me think they don't exist. You can call me a doubter if you want. Jianlu, hi dear Bob. My first sci-fi movie is The Water World, which is nearly 20 years old, with Kevin Costner, I think. The main role had a unique sailboat and he fought with the ferocious pirates. Yes, I haven't watched that movie for a very long time. Waterworld. And there was another movie that he was in called The Postman, I think. Both took place in the future. Let's get back to the lesson in a sec. Marie says, can we categorize Harry Potter movies as sci-fi? We would say they're fantasy. So fantasy deals with magic, wizards. I was going to say scissors. Sorcerers, wizards, magic. So we would say Harry Potter is a fantasy, is in the fantasy genre. Okay, hey, if you're one of the 366 people watching, don't forget to click that subscribe button if you're new here. Always a good thing to do. And let's get back to the lesson. Let's do that. So we were on shuttle, space station. So this is a very advanced looking space station. The current space stations do not look like this. But one of the theories is that as we move into the future, we will eventually have space stations. A lot of science fiction books and movies, they either visit a space station or they stop to refuel at a space station or to take on supplies. Maybe they need food and water. So a space station is just a large base or station in space somewhere that humans have built where they can visit with spaceships to resupply, to, I don't know, hire new people if they need more astronauts. I'm not sure. And then if we build something on the moon or another planet, the very first structures we build will be called a base. So when we travel to the moon, eventually we'll build a base on the moon. When we travel to Mars, we will eventually build a base on Mars. So a base is simply a way to refer to the first thing that humans build when they get to another planet or moon, in the case of our moon. A light year. So once again, Bob the Canadian teaches English, not science. But a light year is the distance that light can travel in 1 Earth year. So the distance that light can travel in 1 year would be 1 light year. That means that if you wanted to travel to the sun, if you went at the speed of light, it would take you 8.3 minutes to get to the sun. When the sun emits light, it takes 8.3 minutes for that light to get to Earth. If you wanted to travel, for those of you who live in the north, to the North Star, it would take you 320 years if your spaceship traveled at the speed of light. It's very, very far. So anyways, a light year is a unit of measure. It's a way to measure a very long distance in space. And we do it by saying it's the distance light can travel in 1 year. By the way, we cannot travel at the speed of light as of yet. I'm not sure what the fastest speed a human has gone, but definitely we have gone faster than the speed of sound, but we cannot travel at the speed of light or beyond it yet. So faster than light travel, this is often something you hear about in science fiction. In order to travel these great distances, we will need to develop a way to travel faster than light. In science fiction, they have solved this. In almost every type of science fiction, they will have hyperspace drive or hyperdrive or faster than light engines or some way of traveling faster than light to get from one part of the galaxy or universe to another. Of course, in sci-fi, there are almost always robots. Sometimes we call them androids if they look like humans, but robots would be a mechanical creature with a computer for a brain that can do some of the same things as humans. An android is simply a robot that has human-like qualities. So usually 2 legs, 2 arms, a face, and eyes so that they look kind of human. This would be considered an android. This would be considered an android. A robot like R2-D2 in Star Wars would just be considered a robot. Actually, do we call him a droid? They call them droids, don't they? Interesting. So I guess that's a Star Wars specific reference. But my understanding is a robot is anything mechanical with a computer brain. An android is a robot that has some human qualities. AI is what we use, is the short form for artificial intelligence. So AI refers to any machine that can think. So when we develop computers, sometimes we program computers so they can learn on their own and so that they can analyze huge amounts of data quickly. And we sometimes say we use AI. Currently, there's a really cool AI in the world called DALL-E, which can make images. And so we have something that isn't a human brain, but we've programmed a computer to think a little bit like a human, and we call it AI, or artificial intelligence. A cyborg in science fiction, often we have merged technology with humans to create cyborgs. So a cyborg is a human who has parts of their body that are robotic. So maybe they have a robot arm, or they have computer chips connected to their brain. Anytime a human is enhanced with technology, we would call that a cyborg. So often in science fiction, you will run into humans who have been enhanced with technology or merged with technology, and we would call that person a cyborg. Time travel is a common thing in science fiction as well. The ability to travel forward or backwards in time. When you talk about the movie Back to the Future, they traveled back in time and then forward in time. I can't remember all of the time traveling that they did, but time travel is the ability to travel either back in time on Earth or forward in time on Earth, or forward in time and place. Depends on the kind of machine you use. But often a science fiction show will involve some element of time travel. It's not always common. In Star Trek, they have done some time traveling. I don't think anyone in the Star Wars movies has time traveled, but in Star Trek, they flew the ship around the sun once to travel back in time. And I think even in one of the early Superman movies, there is a little bit of time travel. Anyways, the ability to travel through time, that would be really cool. In order to do it, you would need a time machine. A time machine is obviously a fictional device that you would use to travel through time. You get in a time machine, you punch in the date where you want to go, and you push the button. I'm talking like I've used a time machine. And then it takes you where you want to be in time. If you wanted to know whether I would prefer to travel back in time or forward, I think both. If I could do some time traveling, that would be super, super fun. I would love it. So I mentioned faster than light travel in order for a ship to get through, to travel quickly. But also sometimes they'll talk about wormholes, where a ship flies into a wormhole in one location in space and it pops out from the other end of the wormhole. And the distance between each end can be many, many light years. So often when you're watching a science fiction movie, they'll say, we're going to take a wormhole to travel to the next galaxy. And then they'll go in one end and pop out the other and quickly travel hundreds or thousands of light years in the blink of an eye. Sometimes in science fiction, they'll have a force field. There will be people who are fighting battles. There will be wars in the future. And you're watching a science fiction movie and the person is about to get hit by a bullet or something, and it gets stopped by this somewhat invisible field of energy. We call this a force field. So this person has activated their force field. The force field will stop bullets. It will stop projectiles. It will protect them. So they are protected because they have a force field, By the way, I don't think this technology exists either yet. Almost everything I'm talking about doesn't exist. That's why it's called sci-fi, right? Tractor beam. So this is something that allows one spaceship to pull another spaceship towards themselves. So sometimes in a movie, they'll say, engage the tractor beam, and a beam of light will shoot out from their ship and it'll pull the other ship towards their ship. I think this has happened in almost every science fiction movie. At some point, someone says, engage the tractor beam and bring that ship closer. That's how captains of spaceships talk, by the way. Let's see here. There are many types of weapons that will be used in science fiction movies. Sometimes it's called a phaser. Star Trek would use phasers. In Star Wars, they would use blasters. In old movies, they might call it a ray gun. They might simply call it an energy weapon. This is any kind of weapon that does not fire bullets, but instead fires a beam of energy. Maybe it's a laser. Maybe it's a bolt, a laser bolt. Maybe it's, I don't know. It's the future. It's hard to describe the projectiles. But what we're talking about is something that uses energy to shoot a destructive beam of light or a destructive laser or ray. So once again, phaser is something they say on Star Trek. Blaster is something they say on Star Wars. And ray gun, if you watch a movie from 1950, they'll probably call it a ray gun. Hey, let's move into members only chat mode. I do, as I move towards that, want to remind everyone that the lesson will continue in about 10 minutes. I'm going to answer some questions directly from the chat as well as from the form. Hopefully, let me just fix my camera for a second. Hopefully, members do have some questions. It's a very unique topic today. And then it's also a topic for some of you that have been around for a while. 2 years ago, I did a lesson about the future. This lesson has maybe 10 words that are the same. Most of them are different, but I did do a lesson about the future once. So it might seem somewhat familiar occasionally from slide to slide. From Musa, hi Bob, I don't think Area 51 is full of aliens. What I know about it is the US Army are inventing compact aircrafts for war and people thought aircrafts were UFOs. Yes, yeah, okay. I think they took the aliens there after the invention of spaceships or flying airplanes. I don't know a lot about Area 51. I should move on before someone corrects me more. If you want to know more about Area 51, I'm sure there's many exciting YouTube videos about it. But thanks, Musa, for that update. Let's see. From Zaid, hi Teacher Bob. I love all your lessons that you make, but your classes are the most helpful for me because since you choose a topic and then explain all the words. Yeah, you know, this was a very simple idea and I didn't realize how popular these lessons would be. When I did the very, very first lesson years ago, it was extremely popular. And so I've kept doing it. From the chat, Bob, did you watch the movie Dune and did you enjoy it? It's the Canadian movie director Denis Villeneuve who made it. I eagerly await the sequel to this movie. It says avait. Tu as conjugué le verbe avoir. You wanted to say await. Yes, I read all of the Dune books by Frank Herbert. I read all of the sequels by his son and Kevin J. Anderson. So yes, I definitely watched the movie when it came out. I liked it. I'm looking forward to the next part. Modag says, in all honesty, Mr. Bob, have you ever imagined of shooting a tractor beam while you're driving a tractor? No, but I found a meme yesterday where someone was flying their tractor through space and then they said, oh, it looks like a tractor beam. It was supposed to be funny. Harry 300, Bob, can you tell us what aliens look like in your imagination? Yes, they look like us and they live among us. No, I don't really know. I think I always imagine aliens look more like, always imagine they look green and more lizard-like. That's always my imagination. Key Park, hi Bob, if you have a time machine and could take a time travel, what time would you like to go to? Definitely the past of my own life and the distant future. Like, I'd love to see what things look like in 500 years. That would be really cool. Yaroslav, can you advise of any sci-fi English book which is not very long? So a short science fiction book. I don't know. They tend to be quite long. You might have to look into, like, there's books of short stories. Like Robert Heinlein wrote many books of short. I think one is called R is for Rocket. So little short stories, sci-fi. That might be a good start. Noriko, hi. Have you ever moved the movie The Incredible from Pixar? Watch the movie. What kind of power would you get if you had, like, force field, invisible, stretch your body, shooting laser beam from your eyes, and why? You know, I think the force field I would like is the ability to slow down time for the rest of the world, but not myself, so that I could have more time. I hope that made sense. That would be my favorite superpower. Stanislav, I'd like to ask, would you think our new planet would be Mars? I think Mars is the best choice. Venus is too hot. The moon is too small and the gravity's not good and not very many resources. I think Mars is our best choice. CS Team has joined and become a member. Welcome, CS Team. Good to see you here. And thanks for becoming a member. Mode says, you said a while ago that you like writing, and I know that you love reading fiction. Would writing about sci-fi appeal to you? Possibly, but it always comes down to time. So if I had this superpower to slow down time for the rest of the world, then I would have more time to write a book. That would be fun. But yes, I would love to write science fiction. Harry 300, that is Lizard Man then. Yes, definitely. That's my view of what aliens might look like. Lolly is welcoming CS Team. Mode says, yeah, usually aliens are pictured to have the same facial features as those of geckos. Yes, that's definitely, the emojis show that well. And then Eugene says, I like the movie Avatar. That is a great movie. And there is Avatar 2 is coming out, isn't it? Or did it come out already? Anyways, I'll watch it at some point. Wanda is here. Hi, Wanda. Hi, Teacher Bob. Can you indicate an interesting movie related to sci-fi? So I'm trying to think of not Star Wars and not Star Trek movies at this point in time. I should have done a bit more research. I like any movie where it's the future on Earth and things have kind of gone bad. We call that dystopian. So I did like The Hunger Games. That was very interesting to watch. Very violent, but also a very interesting movie. Noriko is welcoming CS Team. Freddie Wolf says, I learned that some mean people use ray lasers to airplanes in order to blind the pilots. That's a really mad thing to do. It's a bad thing to do. Yes, that would be really, really illegal as well. Question over here from Aram. Hi, Bob. Greetings from Thailand. Do aliens really exist? I don't think so, but some people think they do. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. That's how I would answer that. Let's see here. From Mikhailo. Hello, Mr. Teacher Bob. Have you ever had a chance to observe the Northern Lights or Aurora Borealis in your life? A few fixes there, because it looks very futuristic. Hope you understand me properly. Wise health, or wish health. As a kid, I do remember seeing it, but not lately. Like, I wonder if conditions aren't good. If you go really far north, you can definitely see the Northern Lights. Let's see from the chat, from members. Mode says, oh no, I forgot to remind you to have a sip. I blame that on the aliens. Yes, and Mode says dystopia versus utopia. So dystopia, or dystopian fiction, is about a future where things have gone bad on Earth. Utopia, or utopian fiction, is when things have gone really well. So a dystopian view of the future would be there's no food, people are poor. A utopian view of the future would be everyone is happy and there's endless amounts of food and we just all sit around and talk all day. And we never have to worry about anything. So I think you knew that, Mode, but thanks for mentioning both terms so I could explain them. Noriko says sip, sip. Stanislav says, thanks for the lesson. I got to go, but I'll watch later. Bye. Take care. Well, thanks for hanging out for a bit, Stanislav. Let's see here. Let me grab another question from the forum. Volodya, hi Bob. I'm just wondering if you know something about dark matter or dark energy. Maybe in the future we'll use it instead of coal. No, I don't. But in science fiction, they always seem to have discovered some form of cheap, endless energy. Maybe they use dilithium crystals like in Star Trek. Maybe they have antimatter drives. There's usually some fictional energy source. I hope in the future we discover some kind of energy source that is incredibly safe and cheap. That would be very, very cool. Let's see here. Harry says, Pacific Rim is a sci-fi movie I like the most. Pretty cool to control a giant robot fighting a kaiju, giant monster. That is a cool movie. Giant robots. Like, not just big. Those robots in Pacific Rim are enormous. Eugene says, can we put chips inside our body? You know, that will never be something I want to do. If I could enhance my intelligence by putting a computer chip in my head, I don't want anything in my head. I'm just going to live like this. This is fine with me. Stanislav says, bye. See ya, Stanislav. And then Mode says, neither dystopia nor utopia is realistic. I would agree. I think civilization will always be somewhere in the middle. Things will never be horrible and things will never be perfect. It'll always be somewhere in between. Hey, we should get back to the lesson. There are a few questions left and I will handle those in a bit. Let me get to my controls here and turn off members only chat. Thanks again for being members. You guys are awesome. And I do really enjoy the members only part of the chat. It's one of my favorite parts of the live stream. So it's nice to get to know you a little bit. I know we don't talk on Zoom and we don't really have a like a face-to-face connection, but it is fun in the chat to get to know members. I do like that. But let's get back to the lesson. Where are we at? Oh yes, phaser, blaster, ray gun, energy weapon. So sometimes in the future, they have the ability to teleport from one location to another. When you use a transporter or when you teleport, you step into a machine and then you disappear and it sends you somewhere else and then you reappear. It's kind of wild. I would never use a transporter. In Star Trek, they're called transporters. In other science fiction movies, they're called teleportation devices or teleportation machines. It's when, like you see in the picture, you disappear in one location and you appear somewhere else. So again, if they invented this machine, I don't think I would use it. An asteroid. So an asteroid is not a planet. It's not a star. It's just a big rock in space. It probably orbits something. It probably, like we have asteroids that orbit our sun. Sometimes an asteroid will approach Earth, but an asteroid is a giant rock in space. And if you have ever played the video game Asteroids, you would have had a chance to blow up a lot of asteroids. By the way, we didn't talk about video games, but there are a lot of video games that take place in the future as well, science fiction video games. A comet is just a collection of gases and dust, and it's usually luminous. It usually gives off light, and it usually, when it approaches Earth, sometimes we can see it. So Halley's Comet would be an example of a comet that we were able to see. But a comet is just a large collection of dust, small rocks, gases flying through space and giving off some light. Very cool. A black hole. So there are a lot of theories about black holes, but a black hole would be a place where there is an extremely high amount of gravity, such that time and space all compress together. This is not a science lesson if I'm describing this wrong, but a black hole in science fiction is usually very dangerous. Ships, if they get pulled into a black hole, they can't get back out. So a black hole is an extremely high area of gravity. Gravity is what pulls you down to Earth. So a black hole has a lot of gravity as well. A clone. So a clone is a complete replica of one person or animal. So if you took my DNA and you took it to a lab, you could make another Bob the Canadian. You could make a clone of me. In science fiction, clones are often used in armies, or clones are used when people want to, this is going to sound kind of weird, but in science fiction, people sometimes, they grow a clone of themselves so that they can transfer in the movie or in the TV show Foundation, the ruling people are all clones of each other. So a clone is when you take someone's DNA, the information that makes them who they are, and you grow another version of them, I guess. Maybe I should clone myself so I have more time, but then there would just be two of me. Never mind, I don't think that would work. Interstellar is anytime we talk about traveling between stars. So interstellar, the word stellar is another word for star. So if you go on an interstellar voyage, it means you're traveling between stars. If you go on an interstellar spaceship, it means it has the ability to travel between stars. Terraforming. Terraforming is when you find a planet and then often, I think on Avatar, they terraforming the planet. I can't remember. But it's when you change a planet, usually to be more like Earth. So you see here, this is, I think they're taking a planet, it could even be Mars. And once it's terraformed, it has water and land masses and plants and things growing on it. So when you terraform, you change a planet to be more like Earth. That's probably why it has the word terra in it, which is another word for Earth, terraforming. And I talked about how when we first start living on the moon or on Mars, we will start by having a base. Once that base expands and people start living there, we would call it a colony. A base is used temporarily, and people would probably only be at the base if they were in the military or something like that. A colony is when normal people start to live on another planet or moon. So if we had a colony on the moon, people would probably live in domes. I think this is supposed to be Mars though. People would probably get married and have children in a colony, whereas a base would just be, a temporary place to stay for a bit. But a colony is a little more serious. And in the future, we might have holograms. Right now, I am just on a flat screen. You can only see me from one side. But if I was a hologram, I would be on your desk and you would be able to look at my ear and my other ear. It would be kind of strange. But in the future, and in a lot of science fiction, people will have holograms. So they'll have, in Star Wars, there's a little hologram of Princess Leia that the R2-D2 android shoots out. Droid, not android. So you can see her in 3 dimensions. Very cool. Hey, that's it. Let me jump back to finishing off the questions. As I do that, if you're one of the 367 people watching, don't forget to click that subscribe button. It's always fun, I think, to get notified when I make a new video. Is it? That's a little presumptuous. If you don't know what presumptuous is, you should look it up. Here we go. Let me get a few more questions. From Nikita, greetings from Japan. Would you like to have a suit like Iron Man, or for example, mechanical wings to fly around beautiful Canada? Well, I said I really liked Iron Man, but I'm also afraid of heights. So I like the idea of a suit that makes me really strong, but I'm not sure I like the idea of flying. I would be a little afraid to be up in the sky. Jerry says, hi, Teacher Bob. Great to see you again. If I can ask, can cyborgs live forever? I don't know. In some of the earlier Dune novels, there are cyborgs, and they have taken the names of Greek gods, I think, like Xerxes, and they have lived for a very long time. But I don't know. It depends on what science fiction book you are reading. Let's see here. I'm going to skip anything. Oh, here we go. From A320, do you like Jurassic Park? I liked the first one. I haven't liked all of them after that. I think the third one, there's been too many and they're getting a little bit silly for me. But yes, the original Jurassic Park, I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. Let's see here. So João Carlos Reis. Hello, Bob. I love to read books about science fiction. For example, 1984 and Foundation. Do you know these books? Yes, I've read 1984 by George Orwell. Very good book. Animal Farm's a good book too, by the way. But yes, 1984, very, very interesting. A government that watches its people quite a bit. And then Foundation by Isaac Asimov. I've read most of the books. I found the TV show Foundation to be much easier for me to understand. But definitely George Orwell and Isaac Asimov, both excellent science fiction writers. Let's see here. Last question, off topic. Bob, is it tonight in Canada? No, it's morning right now. It is 9:20 a.m. on a Friday morning, and I'm going to wrap up this lesson. That was the last question, and I'm going to go to work. I still have to work this afternoon. So anyways, hey, thank you everyone for watching and hanging out. I know science fiction as a topic maybe isn't the most exciting topic for everyone, but you know my goal is to do all the topics, not just the cool ones. If I wanted to just do cool ones, I would do phrasal verb Fridays again, which I used to do 3 or 4 years ago. By the way, I should do a phrasal verb lesson again. Maybe next week I'll do phrasal verb Friday just for fun. But yes, my goal is to talk about everything. And so science fiction was today's topic. I loved it. So I hope you did too. Anyways, this lesson will come out in a shorter version in about 2 days. So look for that. Is it focused on my mic or is it focused on my... I never actually checked my focus today. I think it's fine. It's too late now. Anyways, do look for that. It's good to re-listen to this. At the very least, re-listen to parts that you didn't understand. The version that comes out in a couple days has English subtitles. That can help you a bit as well. And thanks for being here. Thanks to all my members. Thanks to all the people who are regulars, who regularly come. I'm going to say bye to people. Mode says phrasal verbs aren't fun at all. Maybe I should do a lesson called Fun Phrasal Verbs. I put the word fun in the title. Leticia says, thank you. No problem. Noriko says, Dave is a reliable moderator. He is. So anyways, bye Mode, Selena, Harry, Maija, Lolly, Al Gore, Noriko, Leticia, Vitor, Wanda, Ricardo. Bye to all of you. Bye to Itsuki, Ruslan, Yaroslav, Marwanto. I'm just watching the names pop up here. Unsel, Daria, Renata, Tony, Lolly, Natalia, 87, Hobart, Musa, you're welcome. It's good to be here. It was fun. I'm going to hit the end button now. Bye, Harry300 and CS team. Thanks for joining. Bye, everybody. Have a good weekend. Have a good Friday. I'm going to have a sip of water now.